Okay, let's get started here. So, like I said, I'm going to go through the easy way to install Weechat using the package managers, and I'm going to go through the three different main Linux distributions, and by far the easiest one that we're going to use and the most common, I'm assuming that most of you all use, is either Ubuntu or just anything that's Debian based. So what I'm using right now is a virtual machine that has Debian 9.5 stretch, and I can quickly prove that to you if for whatever reason you don't believe me. Sorry, I'm not really familiar with the hotkeys here. Here we go. So we can use LSB release with the A tag, and it'll show us a little information here. Debian 9.5 stretch. Okay, great. So, how do we go about installing Weechat? Well, this is pretty simple. The majority of you that out there are going to be familiar with the package manager apt. So we will use just that, apt search Weechat. And I like to pipe this into a pager function. It's going to give me a little warning that that apt isn't really stable or used for that sort of thing, but it always works anyway. So let's ignore these other ones and just focus on Weechat. We have Weechat, Weechat Core, Weechat Curses, and you can see down the line a bunch of different packages. So let's check out just the regular old Weechat and see what we get here. So apt show Weechat. So this is just some general information about it. We don't need to go through all of it. But what we do need is the dependencies and the suggestions. So the great thing about package managers is it's going to resolve the dependencies for us. We don't have to worry about that. But sometimes the suggested packages are a good idea to go and find as well. It gives us the home page, which we already know about that, and it gives us the repository. So this is a link to the repository, and it's called Debian stretch main. And so how do we know if we have access to this repository? Well, this one, it's called main, so you could pretty much guess that it's going to come by default, and I don't see why it wouldn't. But if you wanted to manually check, we could do something like less, etc. I believe it's apt, so in the apt folder, and then there is a file. Actually, you know what, let me do this. Let's cd into this. So etc. apt, and oops, okay, spelling. And let's see what we have here. So there's one folder and one directory that I want to point out here. The first one is sources.list. Needs my password because we need to be in sudo to have any capacity to edit this, which we're not, but the point of this is just to show you the repositories that you have access to. So anything that is not preceded by a hash is going to be treated as a repository that we have access to. So what we're looking for is the Debian stretch main, and we can see right here we have it, and there is no hash there, so we should be good to go. Like I said, I'm almost positive this would come standard with any Debian based, or maybe it's just Debian, but this should come standard. Alright, let's get out of here and show you one more thing. Oops. Alright, so let's ls again, and notice we have this directory called sources.list.d, and what we see here is a couple of different files. So what the purpose of this directory is if you wanted to include a repository as a separate text file instead of just adding it onto the sources.list text file that I just showed you. So let's take a look at one of these. So we can take a look at this Steam one. I installed Steam, so this is, I'm going to guess, is the repository file for it. And yep, we can see Debian. Here's the repo for Steam, and I guess we call this precise Steam. Okay. So anyway, let's go back to the home folder, and I am going to do sudo apt install Weechat and see what we get. Okay, so this is going to give us quite a bit of information. Most people, including myself, just press Y, or you can even add a Y flag after install right here, and it'll automatically just say yes to this. But if we take a look at what it's telling us, is that there's going to be quite a few packages that are going to be installed in addition to just Weechat. Some of them we can see right here, the following packages will be installed: some Ruby, some JavaScript, a bunch of libraries, and then we have, you might notice some of these from when we did app search Weechat. Here's Weechat core, Weechat curses, Weechat plugins, and it's also going to suggest some packages to us, which we might want to hunt down to give us some extra functionality. For sure, we're going to go find this one, because that will give us access to a lot of different scripts that we can have Weechat run. And also, like I said, just want to emphasize these right here: Weechat core, Weechat curses, Weechat plugins. Those are going to be automatically installed, which is one of the great things about package managers. Let's see here, and it's telling us, yeah, it's going to install these new ones, and we want to press yes, but there is something I forgot to do. So before you install anything, you always want to run sudo apt update, and I'll just say Y, or maybe not. Let's just do sudo apt update. This is going to oops, let's see here. Internet may have gone out. Okay, there we go. And this is just going to update all the packages that are found in the repositories, so we can be sure that we are installing the most accurate package in the repo. So you can see right here that it says there's 88 packages that can be upgraded. I'm not going to do this right now. We're not interested in updating the packages that are already on this system. We want Weechat, so sudo apt install Weechat. And we're going to say yes, and it's going to do its thing. And not too bad here. And while it's working, I'll point something else out. So if you go to the weechat.org homepage, let's start out here, weechat.org, and if you go to download, here are the tarballs, and we're going to talk about this later. But if you also go to Debian Ubuntu repositories, it'll show you the versions that can be downloaded for each, I guess you would call this, for the Debian distributions, each version. So right now I'm using the newest stable, which is Stretch. And it'll tell us also for Ubuntu, and there must be something for Raspberry Pi as well. But if you'll notice, let's go down here to the details. Debian Stretch, okay? There's also developmental packages, which we're not going to install. Let's take a look here. This is what we installed, AMD 64, 15 files. Let's take a look. And instead of reading that output from the apt install command, we can just come here and see what all is going to be installed when you type apt install Weechat. Okay. Anything else on here of note? There's Ubuntu. Okay, and another thing that you will notice is besides these three operating systems, Debian, Ubuntu, and whatever this is, Raspberry, I'm assuming that's also based on Debian, there aren't any official repositories for any other distribution. So no Fedora, no Core, no CentOS, no Arch. But there are ways to install those using the package managers, which is what we're going to do in the next video. But we can click here on all repositories. I'm not really seeing anything all that relevant here. I think it's just showing us the ones that are no longer supported with the cross out. And it is giving us right here the repository's name and the exact sort of syntax that's in that sources.list file. So anyways, just wanted to show you that Weechat is much easier and much more supported on the Debian-based distros, just following the documentation. Alright, let's go back to our terminal. Looks like it's done. And let's see what we got here. So, a couple different ways to do this. Not sure that this is the most effective, but let's just do apt search Weechat and pipe that into less. Alright, and now we can see that some of these are installed, which it will say in the brackets right here. So Weechat, that's the one that we specifically told apt to get, so we know that's in there. Weechat Core, which we saw on the Weechat documentation, and we also saw from the apt output that this was installed as well automatically. Weechat Curses installed automatically. Here's a debugging package that it didn't install. Developmental package. Let's see what else. Scripts was not installed. Plugins was installed automatically. And Weechat Docs. Now, if you remember, and let's take a look again. Let's go to, so we're in the Active Repositories tab under Downloads on the Weechat website. And let's go down to the distribution we're using. So we are using Stretch. And what we installed is Weechat 2.2-1 on AMD 64. Let's look at the 15 files. Okay, that matches up somewhat well, but as you can see, there is some stuff in here that was only recommended by apt, such as this package right here, Weechat Doc and Weechat Dev. But if you'll remember, when we did do apt show Weechat, it gave us two specific packages that it recommends. Weechat doc, or I'm sorry, just one. Maybe is there an optional somewhere? Anyway, the other one I'm looking for is called Weechat scripts, which we are also going to install to give us some additional functionality. We saw that it installed the plugins, but we also want the scripts, because that's a huge part of its of Weechat's extensibility. Okay, so let's do that right now. So sudo apt install, and we'll just do both Weechat. I think it's just doc, and also Weechat scripts. Alright, it's pulling the packages down from the repo and setting them up, installing them, and here we go. Weechat scripts, Weechat doc. So let's do the same thing to see what all we got from Weechat. So we have the curses package, core, stable, scripts. We installed that manually, not automatically. This is automatic with that apt install Weechat. This we did by, well, not manually, but we found it ourselves. And also the doc package. Okay, so we should be good to go. So the only thing left to do is to hit the command Weechat. And there we are. Welcome to Weechat. So in the next, after I do all the videos to install it on different distributions, we will get into how to actually use it.